Doesn't matter.
So what is it? What creates
There's an old saying that the road to hell is paved with the sidewalk in that road. Alright. That's what moves you down that hill. That's what takes you down to that road of destruction.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rolling the Bones and Around the Cage. Hope everybody's having a great the rest of the weekend. Val should be sliding in any second here, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Liana, Barb. Hello, Heather. Welcome everybody. Roger, Russell, Ninja Day. Hope everybody's doing good. So we'll give Val a couple of extra seconds here so he can slide in. So yeah, broadcasting from Northern Kentucky. Kind of drizzly weather here. So I don't know what's going on with Val. Last time Val had some pride. Hey, what's going on, Brian? Brian, you know, I thought about you the other day on the other show. Poor Russ with hot dogs, piggies in a blanket. You know, that was pretty interesting. But what was really interesting was that during that conference, when they asked that speaker about scat, if he had any, and was it in the freezer, and the whole room lost it. And he didn't know what everybody was laughing at. So that was very interesting. So let's give Val a call here and put him on the Grizzly mic.
Hey, Chris.
Did you try that link I just sent you?
Let's see. The one at 441?
No, I just sent you another one.
All right, let's try that.
All right.
All right.
Poor Val. All right, so we'll get Val on the air. I don't know what he's doing, but we'll get him hooked up here. But it was funny, Brian, because I wish I was there to hear that conversation. There he comes.
There he is.
I knew it only take a second.
There he is.
Yeah. So welcome to the show.
Hello there. So we have a storm going on here in Detroit. So that might be, but I've had other anomalies occur throughout the week that were pretty interesting. And two of them are, last Sunday, my computer shut down.
Yeah, absolutely it did.
Right. In a good part of the show. Also, Sunday, my i13 phone dialed 911 twice.
Oh, that's interesting.
And both times I spoke to the dispatcher and assured her there was no emergency going on. I was in the middle of a soccer game with my grandson. No emergencies needed out here. Don't send the fire trucks and the ambulance and the police. That is the fourth time that I've seen that happen with my iPhone.
So that's interesting. So last time we spoken, you don't know. You remember my camera? I actually go out in the woods and take pictures with, right? They used on the force as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went back out there and took pictures, and I lost everything on the card. I lost the batteries, and I thought my camera got fried. And I was like stroking out before one of my shows. I thought my whole camera got zapped. And one of my co-hosts was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I just lost the camera." I'm like, "Nothing's working." And so I put brand new batteries in it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I know how long batteries last in this camera. And I just put brand new, fresh batteries in the camera before I went out in the woods and put these trail cams up. So I thought the camera got zapped, but I lost all my pictures on this SD card. So I ended up doing a show, one of my other shows, about how to not to transfer SD cards from other cameras. You have to marry the cards with the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to give them a little lecture or a little spiel about why you have to do that, because, you know, they download information on there to program that SD card to that camera and blah, 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 and all that other stuff. So it was, so I thought I lost the whole camera and everything. But the camera's good, but I lost all my information and everything, and I had to redo the whole camera all over again with settings. Like
a mystery how this happens.
Yeah. That's never happened to me. Never.
No. I earlier this week I had a gentleman basically tell me that I was disrespectful and causing trouble by posting truths about Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Oh.
In other words, the way I take this is gag your mouth, get the duct tape out, close your mouth. You're causing trouble and stuff. So yesterday I spent some time on the phone. I was talking to an unnamed fella out in Montana, and he's a pretty well known person, and I sought him out because he does have a pretty good background in Bigfoot, Sasquatches, and as a matter of fact, him and I both agree on a lot of things. I sat there and talked to him probably for an hour or longer,
right?
And there was a lot of commonalities in what we spoke about. And the only way that I can get him to come on this show, and he told me that one of our previous guests, he listened to that show. He listened to me. He listened to you. He listened to the guest, and he was feeling us out. And because he has his own big platform, he said that he would agree to come on and do an interview, but that we'd have to record it because of his times and stuff. You know, he's busy and he's got a lot of stuff going on. But if we can arrange that, that would be pretty cool. Okay. Really, to pick his brain, Grizz. And so we talked to a lot of we went through a lot of different topics. And of course, I wasn't interviewing him yesterday. I just had stepped in from a anniversary dinner, and I talked to him about a lot of different things that I felt were truths and confirmations on some of the stuff that I post that people will see on my group site. And he goes beyond that. One of the things, for example, one of the things that we talked about was we talked about bears and Sasquatches and how there's this tacit nod and wink. You know, we won't mention Bigfoot, Sasquatch officially, but we'll call it a bear, and we'll all know
Right.
what we're talking about. You understand that,
Right.
and he got that totally. In fact, he was using some of the words that I use. Not that I invented them, but it was interesting how parallel we were in these thoughts. But we were talking about bears and Sasquatches, because a lot of times people will ask, what about grizzly bear? Grizzly bear versus Bigfoot. What happens? Well, you know what happens. You know darn well what happens. And it's exactly what he said. Now he's out in Montana. He has a better view of grizzlies than I do over here in Michigan. You know, we don't have grizzlies over here.
Yeah, neither do we. We don't have bears and where I'm
Down
at,
there in
so.
Kentucky, no. He did mention, well, you know, they use big sticks to beat them. Now, I've seen this before with some Native American elders who mentioned that somebody was asking, you know, do Bigfoots carry weapons? Do they use weapons? Well, yeah, they carry large pieces of lumber. Now, your idea and my idea of lumber, it's not a 2x4, it's not a pine 1x6 board. You know, we're talking about a thick piece of log. And the question was, why are there reports of Sasquatches carrying large logs? And his response, the elder's response, was because they use those for grizzly. They save them for grizzly. And the gentleman I was talking to last night went a bit further, and he says, yeah, well, in Alaska, you know, well, first of all, he said, you know, Val, they eat bears. And I says, I'm aware of that. He says, you know, they'll beat the bears, beat with fists. Can you imagine?
No.
And then I know that I mentioned seeing something. I probably have it in this database about some guides, some hunters in Alaska. I think it was Alaska that found a grizzly with its head torqued like a rubber band, twisted like a rubber band. Other grizzlies won't do that to a grizzly, but something stronger than a grizzly would do that.
Right.
So the question of what happens, well, they get destroyed. They get destroyed. You know, the mortal enemy of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, what I know, is bears. And I'm talking about black bears, brown bears, grizzlies, because they have an acquired taste of baby Sasquatch, the infants that usually stay in trees when mama and daddy are hunting and doing whatever they do. But babies being babies, they don't always stay in trees. They get themselves in trouble. And that's where the bears come in. Sasquatch, Bigfoot being extremely, extremely loyal to their kind, especially their young, and very, very vindictive, unrelentingly non-forgiving, will track and kill, then eat the bears wherever they find them. And there's several reports of hunters and guides that have made reports where they found Bigfoot reports overlaid on bear paws, tracks and stuff, telling them that they were being pursued and stalked for that purpose. And I do have a photo of a black bear that just absolutely shredded. Left for everybody to see. The other bear come along. The other bear probably come along and dine on that too if they can get away with it. But yeah, that's one of the things that I did when I was researching that particular topic, Grizz. I went back, found some information on that went back as far as the old Queen of England, the royals, and when people were very, very, very wealthy in that time of the world, they called it the Book of Psalms. And that the only person that laid eyes on that book was somebody of prominence. You or I, or any ordinary person, we're below the privilege of seeing such a things, in that period of time, the 1400s, the 1200s, the 1300s.
Right.
It was only the very, very wealthy that were able to know that Bigfoot, Sasquatches existed, and other things, that we don't know or don't know about. But they knew, the people, the wise people then knew, were aware of, and basically, a lot of what we know now, was hidden in deception and subterfuge, and we kind of flail around now, trying to figure out and understand, what we see, what we hear, and but other people knew this many, many centuries ago. That's where the idea, where the research into Bigfoot, Sasquatches came from. It's something that just didn't occur this year or last year, or that it's new. That kind of stuff has been known for ages. We're just finding out about it. That's the most remarkable part about that. So, in that conversation, we also talked about counting coup. And for those not familiar with that term, as I understand it, there was a period of time when people used that practice to get up and close to their adversaries, and a lot of Native American people, take offense when I bring the subject out, because I'm not Native American. But I see this in the study of Bigfootery. This practice, this methodology appears in Bigfootery, where Bigfoots will run very, very close to a person, the people, startle them, maybe touch them, not to hurt them, just to let you know, I'm so fast and I'm so big and strong, I can be on you in a heartbeat, in a blink of an eye, and they do. And this has been documented over and over again. But this is one of the things that we were talking about last night, and he was aware of that, and he brought up his own examples of that particular topic and stuff. So we talked about giants. People think that 8-foot Sasquatches are huge, even 9 foot, and he reiterated what he talks about. He says there's some even bigger than that. And I asked him, I says, well, what have you heard around your orbit of friends and associates and stuff? And he says, and I said, what is the tallest that you've heard of? And he said 18 foot.
Wow.
And, in this database, there are reports of some very, very large. And this makes skeptics and enthusiasts just spin their head when they hear this because, they can't grasp that. But when you think about hunters and deer and stuff, some of the largest deer out there that that people still cull and take, have some outrageously large antlers and stuff. Well,
Yeah.
how have they lived? How have they lived and escaped every season for 10 years or whatever? How did they escape unseen, unscathed all those years? So it's not hard. For me, it's not hard to consider there's much larger Sasquatch out there. There was a gentleman that we brought in, a guest we brought in that talked about some large, unreasonable large track that they found up in Idaho or something. You remember that, Grizz?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I seen the picture. You probably did as well. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
And I'm going to tell you something. As large as that plaster cast took up the whole length of that, the bed of the pickup truck, the tailgate, it would break somebody's back. You had to have three men to carry that thing. That's a lot of plaster. Where do they stay? Where do they live? Probably not in the lower 48 here, but someplace very, very remote, probably higher altitudes or something, I would imagine. So, I really, he would be a very, very good guest to come on and chit chat with. So, with that, lately, people on the group site are talking about with photos of juvenile Bigfoots. They're talking about, do Bigfoots cry? And how do you know that it's not a bobcat whining, screaming? Bobcats make some nasty noises.
Yes, they do. They're able to.
But as most people know, in my database, I'm not concerned with bobcats. I'm not concerned with cougars. I'm not concerned with zebras or elephants or anything else. But I'm more concerned with what people see, what they report, and how it meshes with the rest of the data, with the rest of the information. If there's parallels, if there's patterns that are there, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I want to see. And while we were chit-chatting a little bit before we went on air, that's exactly what I was doing. I was looking at the database and taking out, extracting these different variances in vocalizations and stuff that people have reported. And at some point, I'll do a thread on the different types of languages that people describe when they hear these vocalizations. I see Spanish. These are things that people are reporting. These are the voices that they hear. I see Spanish, German, Russian, Chinese, or some variation of Asiatic language. I know in one instance I seen some type of Native Indian tongue, language spoken, because it was understood by the person, the witness that made the report and stuff. So that's pretty fascinating. That is very, very fascinating. And to bring it all together and show it, sometimes it's not enough to tell people. You have to show them,
Right.
see it. You see what I'm saying? Lay it out. Let people see it. This is not made up. This is the words of other people. This is what they report and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So that I'm getting ready to lay another batch of reports in this database, and it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time to do this, a lot of energy to put in that, because you go through these reports, and I've already established flag words that I look for. When I look at a report, I look for flags, words that I want to identify. These are terms. And when I see these in reports, I apply those to the database. And when I'm done, if somebody questions, for instance, vocalizations, there's a lot of different ways to go with that. There's words that people hear. People report hearing their names of their family members out in the woods, and they know they're not out in the woods. They hear their own name, and this makes people very, very uncomfortable when they hear this. So there's a lot of different ways when I'm looking at vocalizations and stuff. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different avenues that I can go with this and show. This is what people report. I remember one time years ago, there was a large function, I think a country western concert weekend, a lot of national names. There were lines and lines of porta-johns, all lined up. You got long lines of people waiting to use those things. Hot summer, the beer just flowing, everybody happy, fighting and happy. And some gentleman that was suffering from some type of disability, malady or something, was using the bathroom, but his overwatchers, his guardians, were looking for him because he spent an awful long time in that bathroom. They didn't find him, so they were looking for a missing man, disabled man. His name was Peter. And this gentleman was not used to being around large functions like this. So this poor man, innocently, was looking for Peter. And this is what he was saying. And he was opening up the doors. He didn't know enough. He didn't have enough sense to knock on the door. Hey, I'm looking for Peter. That's what this reminds me of when I relate this story. It's, some of the reactions and stuff that people had, men and women. Some of them were very good about it, very humorous. And, but that's what this reminds me of when I relate that story.
Wow.
It's just silly stuff. So what have you come across that was very interesting this week, Grizz?
Just the same old thing. I'm hearing more and more about people seeing Sasquatch or Bigfoot with ankle bracelets. Drones. Yes, drones out in the area where people are investigating. They cannot see them with their naked eye, but they use infrared cameras or IR cameras, and they can see them above them while they're investigating. So they're getting very spooked about that, and they don't understand.
But brother, they're not spooked about politicians wearing ankle bracelets.
I don't even want to go there, right? So, yeah, I've come across reports like that as well, and this brings me to another topic that I was talking to this gentleman about, because I remember
remember a book that I read, and I want to say it's Merriam Place. He's a pretty good author, or she is a pretty good author, and it seems like I read something on there, and I relate it back to the 411 books that I read, because there was one incident in there that reminded me of that. And so it goes something like this. Even though the gentleman that I was speaking to last night, we have a lot of commonalities and stuff. It surprised me that he went to this direction. And, we've heard a lot of talk of AI and such this last year, mostly this year. I mean, it's been in the it's been in the media for a year or two, but it's now coming to fruition in reality. We see it, we hear it, we see it, we know it. So the chatter last night, in the talk that we had, we talked about Sasquatches and Bigfoots, and some people are sensitive to that, and they're able to communicate. Now, this is something that I've had a difficult time reckoning with, the idea that people, will talk to a Bigfoot Sasquatch. And so the talk last night went to something that I had read, and I got the idea from the author of that book. I hope it's that same book, that alleged that one of the witnesses in that book claimed that they were also I don't know if they were intuitive or just sensitive. They claimed to communicate with Bigfoot Sasquatches. And they were told, we're not out here hurting people. It's not us doing that stuff. There's evil ones out here that are robotic. They're not human. They're not people. They're not us. They're the ones that you need to be mindful of and careful around, because they're out here to hurt and kill people. Robotics, AI, whatever you want to call them, non-living beings. That's exactly what he said, and that's exactly where I was going with this, because I know I've read that before. I've read something similar to that in one of those missing books, and it made sense, because some people were reporting the smell of, typically people point to, and like myself, I've smelled the Bigfoot Sasquatch twice. To me, it was a lot like dirty bulls, dirty, sweaty bulls in the wintertime. If anybody's lived on the farm and been around them, the animals, the livestock in the winter, they sweat, they stink, they smell like urine, fermented urine. And that's what the Sasquatches smell like. And it lingers a long, long time. It just doesn't go away. It just doesn't pass. But a lot of people that the author was pointing out had been reporting the smell of like burning rubber, like when you've been around cars that speed up or speed and then lay on the brakes and stuff, you smell that burning brake pad and stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's what people smell, and that's what they report with their Bigfoot sighting. That is, I believe that's where the author goes when they put together the metallic sounds, the metallic smells, and other things that were compiled in that topic that leads me down this path is that a lot of these people report, the same people that smell the burning metal, the metal sounds, the strange metal sounds, also report interferences, Grizzly, with their radios, electronics, even their automobiles. They shut off and turn back on when the thing passes. So very, very interesting chit chat.
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. So I would like to know if the listeners have ever heard of that before.
So I know some of the listeners heard about, Russell says a possible Sasquatch spoke to Davy Crockett in English to stay away from the lost calls in Texas. It was documented by Crockett in a letter to his brother-in-law, he states.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also got reports from listeners that they have been told that they have also witnessed that these Bigfoot have been coming off UFO ships that are not Bigfoot, that they are robotics like Terminator, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting that reports across the country. Have you gotten any of those?
Yes, and a lot of them. And I don't talk about them because I'm very finicky on that group site. I don't want that group site to turn into a UFO clearinghouse. You know what I mean? Just like Dogman. I'm not going there with Dogman. So I keep that group site free of that stuff. But yes, indeed, a lot of reports. I would probably, if I was interested in that, I would probably spend a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks, compiling evidences of reports after reports after reports of that very same thing. That's how many I've seen. The idea of UFOs and Sasquatches, oh yeah, many, many, many. Not one, not two, many times many. So it's, that's an area that's beyond my interest. It's beyond my scope. But I know they're out there. I know that there's a lot of reports like that, Grizz, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it seems like they're increasing, but the robotic part of being Sasquatches, being like Terminator, is throwing me for a loop.
I seen somebody interviewed in a YouTube, and I felt sorry for the guy. I really did. I don't know what the guy's name was, and I seen him on Sasquatch Odyssey. Daniela was interviewing him. I don't remember if this was before or after Kerry Arnold died. I want to think it was before. It was a good interview, and the gentleman right there on YouTube had a nervous breakdown. I'm serious. I felt bad for the guy. But what the guy was describing and explaining was exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. I mean, if you were reading the movie script, and if you had watched the movie, listen to this guy. He was describing the same thing. That brings me to another topic when I talk about Hollywood and my claim that nothing that we see on television or in the cinematic movies and stuff is by chance. everything that we see, you could almost bet that it's reality, because those producers cannot. If you think this country is free without censorship, then you don't know.
Right.
Nobody produces anything that that goes outside that paradigm. That when you break that threshold, that invisible line, you get shut down. You get shut off and shut down. So when you see Hollywood came out with that movie that you mentioned, and you listen to this gentleman tearfully, shaking, describe what he's seen, what he felt, what he thought, then you would agree with me. We've been lied to, deceived, and everything that we thought was and giggled about, that was just fantasy and entertainment and stuff. No, folks, it's real. Someplace, somewhere, it's real. So,
Yeah, they get it from somewhere. Hey, Thomas, welcome to the show. Yeah,
So-
they get it from somewhere. I mean, they just don't,
Yes.
fabricate it up. So
if you go back and look at some of these old black and white, and I look at these and I watch these old World War black and white videos. They were out for the public to see, because they didn't have television like we have now, where or a computer, where you just go on to your favorite media site and get the news as it's happening. They put this in a movie form, like a documentary, but this was to show the public what is happening over there across the sea, with your sons, with your brothers, with your husband. And that's how intelligence got involved with Hollywood when they made these films and stuff. It was for propaganda purposes. And the Nazi Germany did the same thing. They used professional producers, to put out their message and stuff. And it worked on both sides. So do you think that after the cessation of that war, that great war, that all that stuff would stop and end? No. They just evolved into another step, another time with newer technology, newer principles, and they were well seasoned. They knew how to do this, and they still do it. So that is what it is. So yeah, it's crazy.
well, world, let's see here. Independence Day was scrubbed 12 to 13 times before it was released by the government for production. So why was the government involved?
Well, they were showing too much. Sometimes people say, we're treated like in this nanny society that tells us you must put a seatbelt on, you must put a crash helmet on, you must stop smoking cigarettes, you must not put a plastic bag over your head, you
Don't forget the Tide Pods.
Yeah. This is a nanny society that we live in, where we allow somebody to treat us like a baby, like infants, and tell us what to do. And we've grown accustomed to that. So somewhere, somehow, if you take not one small half teaspoon of that medicine, you might not like this whole bottle that I'm going to put in this serving spoon. So you just take little tiny portions of it. That way you don't freak out and get disorderly and stuff. So,
Well, that brings me up to my next question. So you opened up the Pandora's box.
mhm.
So what do you think about the aliens that they presented in Congress, in Mexican Congress?
In Mexican Congress,
Yeah.
well, they're doing the same thing here in this country with
No, I'm talking about
pictures
the
and
alien bodies.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. This is some of the stuff that they're presenting outside of the major media. They're showing this. They have been showing this for the past year. Exactly.
So now they're doing DNA tests, and NASA made a report. Aliens are here. They're no threat to the world. And I was like, did anybody else just hear that? Did anybody catch it? And everybody just went on with life. And I'm like, that was the director of NASA just made that comment.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, now why don't they come out and say that with Bigfoot?
Well, you've got to use some discernment with that too. You got to think to yourself, you know, this is September. We've been through a whole lot in the past several years. A whole lot. Everybody has. And if you haven't died of fright already, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that we experience, and we're going to probably experience a whole lot more. This is September, and I'm seeing, you know, photos like this pop up. Why would somebody? Let me think. Why would somebody want me to look at UFOs over here when I'm looking straight ahead? You know, watching each step I make. Why would somebody want me to take my eyes off of what's in front of me? Why would they be interested in me being distracted with this over here when my eyes are straight ahead? So, you know, are we alone in this world? I don't think so. This is a vast world. This is a huge universe, a huge cosmic galaxy. No, I don't believe that we're the only sentient being alive. Not in this world, not in this universe. But why, you know, if they had that hid and cloaked for so long, why bring it out now? Why not yesterday? Why not last year? Why not 4 years ago? Why now? There's so much other things going on. You know, so many other concerns. Let's put it that way. Just in our personal lives, our well-being. Why put that out now if it's not there for a distraction?
Well, that's like Young Kong Chong Chin He meeting with Putin, the president of North Korea. That got hushed up real quick, didn't it? Now, what the hell's he meeting with Putin for? Weapons. And that guy was swept underneath the rug.
I see, Grizz, I see a lot of the stuff as distractions.
Well, I do too, but why?
For a purpose to take our eyes off of the ball, you know, just like these movies and stuff like that. Yeah, that's entertainment and stuff. But when I watch sports and football games and stuff like that, and I like sports, I know that these worries, these problems, these issues over here, they don't go away. They're always there. And when this game is over, you know, I have to confront whatever problem comes up, because the problems are always there. The issues the concerns and worries are always there. With this stuff, with UFOs and stuff like that. All I would say right now is this is September. This is September, my friend. You know, I would expect to see something spooky and scary right now, because we're at that precipice in our lifetime as Americans. It's September. What comes after September? And don't say Halloween either. What comes after September, October?
Well, I know what's coming,
Okay, all right. So,
and I know who's going to be president too.
so you know, take the eye off the ball. You know, that's the way I see this stuff. I'm not talking about Bigfoot now. We're talking about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. That's the way I see this stuff. There's symbols, there's things, you know, in the arts, for example, in arts, when you study acting, the novice, the student, learns the meaning and the importance of motifs. Do you know what motifs are? Motifs are little tiny hints and clues.
Yes.
Yes. And to a detective, to an investigator, I always thought that a good investigator would be one that understands the value, the importance of motifs. For example, when you have a movie and you're watching these high drama movies, and the picture of the movie you're watching seems to be a view from up above, that is the producer's clue to you, the viewer, that somebody's going to die. There's going to be some death here. Shame on you. And that's the way they do it. They do these little tricks with the cameras and angles and stuff to lead the student that's aware of these things an idea as to where the movie's going. This is how the movie's going to go. They do it with objects placed in a view of the camera. You don't notice it. You might not even see it at first, but when you start thinking about and processing the things that you see, then it comes to you and you say, that's what it is. But that's the way life is, Grizz. That's the way we see things now. That's the way I look at this stuff. So when we're talking about UFOs, I immediately think, what month is this? Oh, this is September. You know, time has gone by so fast. Here we are in September. It is. It seems like a blink of the eye, you know. But anyways, that's the way I look at this stuff. And the time that I've spent explaining my feelings on a lot of these things is a lot of stuff that I try to impart with people on my group site. Because quite frankly, Grizz, I don't know how long I'm going to be involved in this. I don't. I just don't know. I don't know. I had some wonderful conversations yesterday at that retirement dinner. Wonderful. I was talking to some very, very learned, scholarly people. And one of them worked for a foreign intelligence. And he was telling me some stuff yesterday over the calamari. The calamari was good, and so was the red wine. But he was telling me some stuff I had never heard of before. He says, "Val, have you heard of this? And have you heard of that?" And I said, "Well, no, I've never heard that term." He and I were in the military at the same time, but he was in a foreign military, and I was in the American military. A lot of commonalities, a lot of things in common. very, very intelligent, very, very interesting to talk to and stuff. And I had just met him. He was related to our friends and stuff. That was part of his family that I was able to meet. And by the way, he was from France. He wasn't from Canada, but his people are from Canada. A lot of his relatives came from Canada. And yeah, just amazing stuff. So, life is very, very good. Life is good as you make it, as you allow it. And life is about learning. Every day you want to learn something. You want to learn something new that you didn't know or previously know. And for me, a Gemini, I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. I got two personalities. I say that tongue in cheek, but I know that I'm the type of person that could never, ever, ever work on an assembly line. Why? Because I'd be over there chit-chatting with somebody, while the machine was over here taking care of business, all clogged up and broken and smoking and everything. Because that's the way I am. I just, I had to find something that would complement me, the way, my personality, my character and stuff. And what better world to get into, the people business, law enforcement. That's where you work with dynamics and work with different people. You work with the very downtrodden. You work with the impoverished people. You work with some work around some very, very intelligent people. And every day, Grizz, is a learning experience. You learn something new, and you're happy, and I'm happy, and I thrive. And I'll tell you what, when I'm in that situation, I get no better thrill than learning something from somebody that I hadn't previously known. And for the life of me, I could not ever understand why people would be in such a emotional state that they would want to take their life. Because it's, life is a wonderful, wonderful thing. If we only understood, if we only understood how precious that time was that we have. And it goes by quickly, very quickly, very, very quickly. But I'll tell you what, I poured my heart out here.
You see that?
These are the things that I think about, and things that I enjoy. Those are the things. But over this past week, another police officer that I work with died and stuff. And it was kind of bittersweet in the fact that we were never really, really close friends, although I worked with him. And I don't think to be honest with you, I never thought he liked me because he'd always be spying on me, always shadowing me, follow me around to see where I'm going, what I'm doing, because he heard, that I was being mean or something. But on this particular occasion, and I can say this, and I will say this, God bless his soul, but his last day on the job before he retired, he spent with me. Maybe it's because he was being mean to me, but he had, God, God put it in his heart that you have to work with Val now. This is your last day on the job. This is what you're going to remember the rest of your life. You're going to work with him. So as it turned out, I came upon a house that was fully engulfed in flames. This is a true story. And as soon as I put that microphone down, hung it up, I asked for the fire trucks. We got a fully engulfed house here. The neighbors tell me that a single man lives here, raising his small child by himself as a single parent. And they don't see the car, or they do see the car in the driveway. They don't know if he's home or what. But I know this house is on fire, and I don't like fires. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not trained in that stuff. I just as soon leave it alone, let the professionals handle it. So as soon as I hung up that microphone, I looked to my left. I mean, I don't even have my car in park yet. I'm just stopped on the curb. And I look, and there's Terry, the boss, standing there looking at me. He'd been following me, and he followed me to that point. And I looked at him and I says, what do you think, Terry? He didn't say anything to me. I put the car in park, shut the car off, grabbed my keys. I says, I know what you're thinking about. Terry, I says, if you walk in that house, I got to follow you. I says, you ready? I got out of the car, shut the door. He followed me. I didn't follow him. I don't remember if the side door was open, unlocked, or if we kicked it open, but we walked into that man's house. We walked through the side door, we walked through the kitchen, and I stuck my head around the corner to look down the hallway to see how bad that fire was. There was no way. The bedrooms down the hallway were completely engulfed. The bathroom was on fire. I do know that I made a motion to walk down that hallway because I wanted to check this, if I could find that man and pull him out, silly me, I'd be in a better place. But I know that he grabbed my belt, my gun belt, and pulled me backwards. He said, no, Val, don't go down there. And I didn't. We walked back through the kitchen, and just as we were ready to walk out the side door to the driveway again, I looked down there. We seen the basement steps. I said, Terry, let's check the basement real quick. And we walked down there, and anybody that's been involved in house fires and stuff know that when you have a major fire like that in a structure, the first thing that goes is electricity. You have no power. It's dark. One of the biggest hazards to firefighters, and I had lots of firefighter friends that have helped me over the years. There's no better friend out there on the street. When you're alone, you don't have a backup, but the firefighters are there, and they'll help you if you ask. But they, a lot of these people suffer injuries from refrigerators and bathtubs falling through the floors and breaking their backs and stuff. That's a big hazard, big danger to these people. So we're down in the basement. The house is being destroyed upstairs. And we're looking around. We're announcing ourselves. Police department, police, your house is on fire. If anybody's down here. We seen an object, a darker shadow against the wall, the far wall of the basement. And we decided that it had to have been a couch or something. The closer we walked to it, we noticed there was a body on the couch. And we started rousing this man, and we were telling him, police department, you got to get out of this house, it's on fire. And the man woke up, understandably so. He was confused and startled, and he started flailing his arms. And I told my boss, I says, look over there at the stairs. Where? I said, over there. When he did, I hit the guy. Put him over my shoulder, stop fighting. Put him over my shoulder, and never realized how heavy a human being is until you try to walk up an incline. And that's where Terry was. He was pushing me from behind, get me up the steps. All I remember is laying the man down on the lawn. And then I woke up. I don't know how long it was. I don't know how long I was out, but I woke up with some little kids, neighborhood kids, leaning over me, laughing, just little kids. They didn't know, but I had a mask on. I had an oxygen mask. The rescue fire department showed up, and I had spit all over my face. And, but that's the memory I have of Terry. That was his last day of the job, and we could have both died there. But because of that act, he and I both received, an award, a medal, or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But that's my memory with him. And it was ironic that it was him, his last day on the job. You be nasty to Val, and this is how it's going to end right here.
Right.
But it was very, very interesting. So that's been my experience this week as it passed. So
interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
So looking back at this stuff, Grizz, I think about the things that I have done and wonder why I did these things. What possessed me to do these things without care or concern over my own life? But I did these things. And, when everything is closed, when my storybook is closed, I remember the greatest joy that I had was volunteering my time to locate this missing individual. And to me, I used that as my curtain call. I was able to successfully locate this individual, this murder victim, and bring some peace to his mother's heart in Ohio before she passed. And I don't know, again, it's one of these situations where I don't know. I don't know why the words come out of my mouth to promise her that I was going to look for this individual, but it was a mammoth undertaking, and I was doing this free gratis. I did this as an act from my heart to her out of compassion. And I'd like to think that I view these things as a sense of self-redemption, because I'm not a perfect person. I've never been a perfect person. And, quite honestly, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I've done or said, over the years. And if there's ever a place in our life, in our universe, where we're judged by the good things that we do and not the bad things and stuff, I hope that what I've done had made some points for me, if I can say that.
No, absolutely.
Seriously. But, when things like this happen in our life, it gives us pause to reflect and think about things, good and bad. Hey, Standing Stone, your father was a firefighter. Good man. Good man. Very good man.
Yeah. Well, Val, I get to check the cameras next week, and I'm probably going to put out a few more. Depends on what's left of them.
Have you found anything on there?
I haven't checked them yet.
Do you need me to go down there and check them for you?
So my youngest daughter, is going to go out with me, and so I remember I hand serialized each one of them. So if they are missing, right, ripped from the tree, I'm going to file a report. So how am I going to tell these law enforcement officers, what were they out for? Wildlife?
Do you have their GPS coordinates?
Yes, I've got their GPS coordinates on each one. Right, I put the GPS next to the tree. I got the handwritten serialized numbers that I engraved on each camera. Picture that. Picture of the camera. Picture the GPS coordinates. So I've got everything down. I didn't have to handwrite anything. I took one. Remember those old police notebooks that says police on them?
Mm-hmm.
So I took that out with me because I was going to handwrite everything down. I was like, well, why? Just take a picture of it. So that's what I did off my camera.
Grizz, have you seen people post pictures of Bigfoots and stuff, personal pictures that they share on social media?
Yes, I do.
Do you look at these photos? Do you look at the photos for the date timestamp?
Yes, I do.
Do you know the importance of that?
Yes, I do.
Some people say, that's hoax, that's fraud, BS. I call BS because that's been clipped. I do that. I didn't do that on my personal picture, but I push and prod people to do that on their own because metadata, somebody, you don't want to give your location to your special place out there to the world. But if they can get a hold of that metadata, they can find that through GPS coordinates.
Oh, yes, they can.
And somebody got mad at me about saying too much, giving up those little hints and stuff. So I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. We got a week to go, ladies and gentlemen. Then I got a new camera from a manufacturer that I'm going to put out and to test. It's solar power. It's got built-in batteries. So we'll wait and see.
What was the manufacturer's name on that, Grizz?
Camprac, I think is what it is. And some people hate it. Some people love it. I went to Amazon. It's got good reviews. And some people say that I found out that they got a box with an empty camera in it. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a shipping problem. But, they want me to test it. And they want a piece of the pie. And they want my opinion. And honestly, I'll show the camera on the next show.
Who mentioned pie?
And the camera is actually built better than some of the cameras I've got. So I don't know.
You tell that person they can advertise on my group site, and I'll expect that new camera in the mail tomorrow. So
yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's just I went out to Amazon and I looked up the reviews myself, right? Because everybody's got their own opinion. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to somebody about this the other night about it, and they reached out to me like, "Hey, that camera's got a lot of bad reviews," and I'm like,
"Really?"
And I'm like, "Well," and they sent me a picture of this review board, and I'm not going to mention the review company, and it was just like, "Well, the camera fell apart after 2 years and all this other stuff." I mean, what you do have in the back of a pickup truck running down a country road at 85 miles an hour? Mm-hmm. But
they weren't all bad, right?
On this one side it was, but I never heard this site. Mm-hmm. But I went to Amazon and looked it up, and it was, I think, at a 4.8 or a 4.7 out of 5.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, but I'm telling you, and I'll display the camera. I mean, it's actually very well built compared to some of the ones that I paid 80, 90, 150 bucks for. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So, is it to where people got mad because they damaged the camera and they want it replaced? They didn't get replaced and they just gave it a bad review? I don't know. So,
Well, people do a lot of things, you know. If I'm looking at different review sites for a product or a business, I look at the web host first to see if it is privately owned or it has anything to do with just selling merchandise and stuff like Amazon. You know, I can think of other major manufacturers and stuff, but yeah, I look at those reviews too. But you know, anybody can create a review board.
but getting packages without a cam trail,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
yeah, I don't know either. You know, I mean, that's why you call your bank and you can dispute the charge and you get your money back. You know, that's why they have insurance on UPS and priority mail is $150 or $100 on priority mail. So, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, I order stuff from Amazon, and I ain't gonna say what it is. It's for one of my AR rifles, and it was a $900 optic, and I got an empty box. And Amazon was like, just get a place report and give me the place report number, and I'll give you a new one. And that's what I did when I lived in Lexington. So
yeah, PayPal and Amazon are pretty good about covering people like that if it's legit, you know.
Yeah, but the Facebook owners reached out to me. Were like, I personally know people that got empty boxes, so I took down your post, and I wasn't offended. I gave them a heads up, and I was like, hey, thanks for the information. But customer service treated me like gold, and I've talked to them. I emailed them, I called them and talked to them, and they don't know who I am because they think I'm an actual customer. Because they don't know that their company sent me this device, because I actually got to pick one. And I picked one in the medium range. I had a choice to pick anything I wanted from their lineup. So, but the one I picked was the solar power one, because I got tired of putting batteries in the ones that I just put out. Because, man, those batteries they get expensive.
Oh yeah, very expensive. You remember the conversation we had with Robert Kreider?
Yes.
And some of the devices that he's come up with and stuff.
Yes.
Really, you know, this guy is remarkable for some of the things that he comes up with. Really, the man does extraordinary work, and I think more and more people are looking at his devices heads above all other, you know, marketed products and stuff. And for some reason, I got the idea the other day. I was reading something, and I remember when he was on this show, he was talking about the government was looking at his product, and I thought I read an article or something that reminded me exactly of what Robert was talking about. But they're testing this device out in battlefield conditions.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll tell you this, when it comes to any type of outdoor product, camping product, and Val and I can even talk about firearms. You pay for what you get for. Okay. We're not going to go into makes and models because when I owned my police supply business, you know, I got flack for selling a specific brand. And I used to tell people, how can I tell somebody that couldn't afford a $400 gun compared to a $190 pistol to protect their family, right, from home at home? And that's the only thing they could afford. And you know what brand I'm talking about. It looks like a brick, and it shows up in a lot of crime scenes, unfortunately, because they're so inexpensive. But, you know, and a lot of my law enforcement buddies really got offended because I was selling them, and I was selling them left and right. Is because the average person couldn't afford what we carried on the PD or some of the SIGs and other brands and whatnot, H&Ks and whatnot. But, you know, I didn't take offense to the guy that reached out to me and took down my post because, you know, his friends, you know, like, that's junk camera and all that. You know, hey, that's their opinion, and you know, that's their right. And he actually sent me the link to the feedback where everybody left their feedbacks, and some of them were 2 or 3 years old, and then I went to Amazon, and I was like, well, I mean, I can reach right behind me in my studio and grab a tote of unused trail cameras, and I can line 5 or 8 different brands up and put this one in the middle. And you would probably be like, what's this one right here? This one looks really nice. And
Mhm.
I mean, you can tell a difference.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I will test it out. Am I getting paid for getting tested and everything? No, I'm not. I'm not getting any benefit from it at all.
Mhm.
They just wanted me to test it out, and they picked me because they watched one of my shows and see what I was doing. And they were like, hey, since you got all these different trail cams, we want ours to be in the mix and see what you think. So I'm going to do it.
For a long time, GoPro has been the been the name and the product that everybody went to. But I've not experienced myself, but I've heard a lot of people opine and complain that they overheat,
They overheat, and their
run out.
battery life's so short. But
Yes, exactly.
But the trail cams that I've used are the ones that you can just mount on a tree and leave up there for 3 to 6, 8 months, not worry about it, right?
Mhm.
That takes still pictures and video and audio. Some of them are just take still. Some of them takes the coordinates, the temperatures, and all. I mean, I've got a variety, different ones. So, yeah, I'm not going to discriminate.
Grizz, in the old GoPro, in the older GoPros, they had the independent stick where you take it out and slide it in.
Yes.
Is that the same type of memory stick they're using for this camera you're talking about?
So so what I'm using, just the regular SD card ones, right?
Yes. How big is that? 46?
I've got them
32?
up to 256. Now, some of the different cameras take the micros. These are the micro adapters. And I got different brands of the trail cameras. They're IR, non-IR, or infrared, not infrared. Some are just motion based. So I got a variety, and I got them strategically set up to where, because the Bigfoot alleged they can see IR and infrared. So if they see this with the taking a picture of a deer here or an animal here, and it's like a torch on this end of the field or the woods, maybe they'll come around. I can get them on another trail cam that doesn't have all this fancy old tech, right? It's newer tech. So I've got different plans I've got set up. So I'm actually prepared to file police reports if they are missing, because I've heard reports that they've been ripped from trees and been bitten and thrown. So my daughter is like, yeah, I'll go out with you. I was like, how many laptops you have? She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we're going to need more than one. I was like, we're going to be out there for hours checking these, because I don't know if we're going to leave them up, if the batteries are still there. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if the batteries are dead. I don't know. I mean, if I'm already having problems with my camera, being out there just for a few hours with fresh batteries, something's not adding up.
What size area are you talking about?
Oh, Val, we're talking square miles.
Oh,
yes.
We're not talking about backyard here.
No. I live out in the country.
So you're talking about spread out.
Yes.
Different points, different places.
It took me roughly about, I think we averaged it up a little over 7.5 hours to put up the cameras.
Really?
Yep, 2 days.
And how do you know where these cameras are located?
Stand by. Hold on. Let me stop my camera here. Stand by. Yeah. Well, of course, I would have it right here, but now it's not. All right. All right, I'm back here. I'm gonna get my headset back on.
Mm-hmm.
Turn my camera back on here.
Bruh, I heard a lot of talking, but I didn't see the lips moving on that picture.
So I've got a real fancy high-dollar GPS Garmin handheld that I can
Okay.
talk, text,
Mhm.
communicate with 911 first responders,
Mhm.
and I can hit a button. I'm not going to hit a button on here, but on the side,
Mhm.
you see it says SOS.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
So if I'm hurt, I can hit that and automatically dial the nearest 911 and give my GPS coordinates if I cannot talk. Now, I'm not going to show the map where I'm at, but it also has a bunch of different options. And there's a button on here for coordinates where it gives me GPS coordinates
Mhm.
where
With
I can
the map.
actually hit it.
With
Yes,
the map.
I can do satellite maps, topo maps, all kinds of different maps, layer maps. So, and if I just hit coordinates, it'll actually give me my exact coordinates where I'm sitting right now, which I will not display on the air because I'll tell you where I live and my studio's at.
And you see Val over there hiding behind a tree the next time you go out there.
But that's what I use when I go out in the woods because I go so far. And then
How much does that device run?
$1,000.
Really?
So here's the trail cam that they sent me, the one I picked out. It's a TC 220 or 22. And I like it so far. It's actually got the components just like the ones that I have, the electronics, where it's you can program it and so forth.
It's awful large, Grizz.
No, it's not large. Look, look, see my hand? So it's not large. It's not about the size of your hand.
Yeah.
But it's got the solar panel on it. And then when you open it up, you can program it. And you can put your security passcode and everything on there to where if it is stolen, they cannot operate or use it, see? So, but it's made better than some of the ones that I've actually bought. And it's not a bad little unit.
It looks well constructed and heavy duty.
It is. That's what I'm saying. And
solid.
And when the person reached out to me and said they were junk, and I was like, "Are you sure you were talking about the right one?" And he sent me the links, and
it is the same one that he was talking about. Huh?
It's the same brand. It really is the same manufacturer, but I don't know why they got better reviews. Like I said, I went to Amazon and I looked, and it's a very well made camera. So I'm going to test it out in the elements.
It looks sturdy and solid. It's waterproof, of course.
Oh yeah. So
what does the manufacturer rate that as? I mean, how many hours are you supposed to get out of that? With that,
I didn't read all the instructions yet, so that I don't know on the solar power because it depends on how many pictures and videos it takes, right? So some of the cameras, trail cameras, you can leave out to 8 months, depends on how much usage it uses. Not say use, it's how much activity, let's put it that way, that you actually capture or record. So the good thing is that with the solar panel, right, you use your USB port to charge it, to charge the internal lithium batteries. And then the solar panel doesn't have to be in direct sunlight. As long as there is light out in the woods, it recharges the batteries. It's not like the old solar panels where it's got to be in direct sunlight. So technology's changed. So that saves. So now I don't have to worry about replacing the battery. So if it, say for whatever reason it did die, I can just undo it and take it home and plug it into the wall or USB charger and be done. Standing Stones wants to know, let's have a contest, see how many cameras he can find out, the ones that I actually put up and find the ones. Don't say that. That's a lot of money.
There's got to be a prize at the end of the contest.
That's a lot of money. But you know, when the person reached out, I looked at his comments in two ways, right? A, he never had any experience with the company himself. And two, he is trying to protect his group and his group members, which I respect that. I wasn't worried about it at all. You know, do people have bad experiences with Fords and Chevys and Toyotas and Hondas? Absolutely. You know, I look at reviews as well too. So, but you know, there's things that you do that make cameras work well. There's things that you do that can destroy cameras and not make them, you know, live as long.
Was he affiliated with another manufacturer's product?
That I don't know. I probably say no. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't think he would be.
And how old was his review? His posted review, was it older?
It wasn't his review. I think somebody saw my post and reached out to him and probably made some complaints.
Oh, so there's
and he reached out to me, being, hey Gary, welcome to the show, and he thought, because there's so much negative reviews, he didn't want anybody to be. Because Grizzly was endorsing the company, which I am, because once I got the camera, I'm like, well, dang, that's pretty good, well made. And so far, I like what I have. And compared to my other ones that I paid $80 to $150 for, this one is actually better made quality than the ones that I actually bought. So,
so what does that product run retail?
$179.
That's pretty affordable.
It is, and it's Wi-Fi, so you can go up to your camera and download your pictures without even hooking it up to your computer or anything else. So, but like I said, Amazon's got some good reviews, and I went out there and I did my own search on the websites or on search engines, and I couldn't find really negative reviews besides that one site, and it was just weird because it was like it just didn't add up to me. But I value anybody's opinion, especially if they're going to spend money. But I'm still going to test it out and so forth, and give it a shot and see what it does, and I will put my honest opinion out there for everybody to look at and review. So yeah. That's and, and like I said, I'll say this again, I'm not getting paid for it. So,
well, if people do that all the time, there's people out there that pay people money to drive around with an emblem of their business on it.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
That happens every day.
Well, and I'll say it this way: how many times have somebody bought something? And for example, and not knocking the review company or the platform, I read a couple of reviews. The camera lens fell out, and then the review was 2 years old. Or I bought the camera and it was over 2 years old, and the camera lens fell out. And I looked at my unit and I was like, the only way the camera lens is going to fall out is if you threw it in the back pickup truck going down a country road doing 85 miles an hour. He did this off and on because I dropped these cameras out in the woods. I dropped them on logs, trying to strap in the trees. I dropped them on the patio, back patio. I dropped them on the driveway, concrete driveway, and some of the covers. And when I mean covers, on the motion lenses right here, and I'll get you a close up on them.
Yeah.
Or you can push on them. These you cannot push on. Some of them you can push on. They're like very thin plastic. These are not. These are real sturdy. And same things with the motion one right here in the center.
Soft lenses on them.
Right. There we go. That's a good way to put it. These are not. So, and that's why I was kind of like taken back. But Just like with you and I, during an investigation, we're going to go in and we're going to look at the totality of the circumstances. And that's the way I'm going to do everything. So now if I strap it to a tree and it gets water damage within the first 30 days or the first 2 or 3 weeks, then yeah, we got an issue, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to report such, right? So, and I will test it all throughout the winter and test in the elements and so forth, just like my other ones. But, there's camera maintenance and there's things you have to do to it. I mean, and, SD cards and so forth. And you got to follow the manufacturers. And, when I first went out there into the woods and to put all these cameras up, I took a big duffel bag. And I threw all the cameras in the duffel bag. So imagine walking up these hills and down through the creeks, and all these cameras are like in a marbled or a jar with marbles, and they're all bouncing. So imagine all that time, right? That's rough on the cameras. They weren't stable, they weren't secure. So, that probably didn't help anything. So, there's a lot of factors, and of course, electronics. And I mentioned this on the air, and a lot of people can contest to this too, or concur. A safety device on a firearm is a mechanical device that sometimes may fail. And electronics are the same way. You get good electronics, you get bad electronics. And I'm that type of person that used to be able to go into Wally World and buy a Blu-ray player, and out of a whole section of Blu-ray players, I would move 4 or 5 and grab one and take that home, and I would buy that one electronic that would not work, that would not power up. That was always my luck. So, I value anybody's opinion, but if I'm going to test something, I'm going to go into it blindly. And I'm going to test it like I'm going to use like my other trail cameras, and I'm going to give my honest opinion. So it's the only way you can do it.
You're looking at it organically. You don't want a pre-made, orchestrated experience with that.
I don't. No, I don't. And I respect the gentleman, seeing those reviews and somebody bringing it to their attention, like, oh, Grizzly. Heads up, man, just let you know that is a bad company, and, and him protecting his group and his members just in case, because, his words is he knows that people got cameras with empty boxes. Well, then that's fine. Contact your bank, contact the manufacturer and get it resolved. People steal packages. I've had it happen with Amazon lots of times recently this year. And I have with Amazon, and I'm not going to lie, order something from Amazon, and let's say order this mouse, right? And it'll be ABC brand that I order, and I get YZ instead of ABC. And it's like, what did I do? Did I get somebody's return? Did they switch items in a box? It happens, ladies and gentlemen. Do I hold the seller responsible? No. I just go back and ask for a refund, or they ship me another item new in the box, and they, and I send the other one back, and they give me a little money to boot for, discomfort or whatever. So
that always makes us happy when they do that.
Yeah, it does. Now, Brian, where I live, we don't have porch parts. So, but yeah, a lot of people do have porch parts, but so when I got the message, I did thank him, Val, and because I do appreciate anybody giving me heads up, especially if I'm going to buy a trail camera and I don't know anything about trail cameras, and I'm going to spend $100, $180, $200 or whatever on a trail camera, and there are a lot of bad reviews, I probably hesitate as well. But I went to Amazon, and it's am I saying it right? It's an awful Camtrack or something. But I wanted to make sure, and like I said, go in there blind and do it and everything, and just to make sure and give them a fair chance. So, and I think
that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
I think it's the best I can do for them as well. So,
The porch pirates. I had somebody around this neighborhood was stealing, and I
Oh,
found
really?
one year we found my neighbor's Christmas present behind my fence, and for some reason the thieves didn't want coffee, so they left it in the back alley there. Luckily, it still had the name on the package, on the wrappings. So my wife and I took that over to our neighbor's house, and she had coffee, for Christmas. So she was happy. But, it happens. It happens with, living in the cities, especially living in the cities and stuff.
Yeah, it
What you
really.
got?
Now, when I lived in Lexington, I had a problem with porch pirates and stuff, and it was interesting with the neighbors when they got your package and they didn't like what you got, they would return it to you, right? That
Mhm.
always cracked me up. So, like fish hooks
Lexington.
and so forth. Yeah, when I lived in Lexington.
I've got years ago I arrested 2 murders from Lexington. And
Oh,
I
did you?
got yes, and I got a letter from the chief down there. Arrested the 2 ladies, the murders, and in her stolen car, in the victim's stolen car. Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
You guys down there in Kentucky, boy.
It's
Some
called
wild people.
Cam Park is what it is.
Mhm.
And Cam Park Cameras, that's the actual company. And I'll throw the link out there, and y'all can go look at it and look at the different cameras. And they sell all kinds of stuff, whether it's outdoors, indoor cameras, security cameras. And I'm getting the link right now.
They sell other products besides cameras, trail cams, right?
Yes, they do. And I'm trying to get the let's see, go to links, get banner, get links. Well, how come it's not showing me? Let's see here, merchants. Because they gave me a link to, let's see here, account. Let's see here. That's weird. Links. But another one, let me try and click on this one. Here's another one that I buy a lot of stuff for. Hello, Nicole. And they got a lot of good stuff. It's called Eco Gear FX Incorporated. They got a lot of tactical flashlights, backpacks, and so forth.
That's for first responders and government.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
I'm familiar with that.
Now I buy a lot from them. Now they got your medium and low end, all the way up to your high end stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I buy a lot of stuff from them. Let's see here. It's weird when I go to click on get links, it's not letting me get a link from them. So, but I'll try to get a link later for the other company for the trail camera. That's just weird. It's not letting me get it, but I can get it for the other one. That's strange.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll throw the link out there in the comments for later. But yeah, but the other one for the backpacks and their tactical backpacks, their tactical flashlights. So you know the company then.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it was reaching out to government, law enforcement, military. It had a wide market, and I believe, I don't know how they vet people. I thought that originally at one time you had to present, if you were a military veteran, you had to present DD 214. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, I got the link now. Yeah. Now there's a couple of them where I had to show my credentials, like my retired police ID. So there's the other one for the trail cams, and y'all can go out there and look at them. I mean, to me, they got some nice quality.
They got some cool stuff in there.
Yeah, and so does I got the trail cam one up too now. I don't know why I finally clicked on it and it worked. So, but it's Cam Park, and they owned a couple of other ones. They own G Mark, Toe Guard, which is another good company. So they own quite a few companies, but it's a computers electronics store. But yeah, so
made in USA.
No, a lot of the trail cameras I buy are not made in the USA, even though they're sold in the USA. This one says made in China. And I think a lot of them are made in China or Taiwan, but so yeah, even the ones that like the Bushnell ones, it's stamped on the back. It's not made in USA. So
I guess those days are over.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I noticed that when I was hand engraving my trail cameras last year when I got them all in. Because, as much as I spent in trail cameras, I could have really got a real nice handheld, very nice thermal, but I don't like to be out in the woods at night.
No,
sorry. Bad enough, being in the daytime. So, but another one that I wouldn't mind trying, and I don't have any, and I reached out to the other day, and it's called Blaze Video. Blaze Video seems like to be another good company, and it's got a lot of good reviews. And here is a link for it too. They make indoor, outdoor security cameras, trail cameras, and stuff like that. So there's a link for that as well.
Really?
Yes. So, and same thing with Camp Park. They make security cameras too. And Val, it was so hard not to pick the $450 camera, remote control. You can do it from your phone with the cell phone thing where you can upload and get pictures and video from your cell phone. And I was like, man, that's another cell phone line, right? Another added expense. So
I don't know. Do they charge you for a second line for that?
Yes, they sure do.
Like a second phone?
Yes.
Serious?
Yes. So that's another thing that I was. Some people were telling me, Brian Barber, I'll talk to you after the show about that. But some people were like, let's do a trail cam or two out in the woods, and have people like donate, whatever it is to add a second line and have a special feed set up for these special members, right? Maybe you get like 8 or 9 people that donate like a monthly feed where they have special privileges for this camera. Because evidently I got activity. So you saw the track I got, right? Did you see the track? Yeah. So, and all that other stuff. So, so I got something going on, but I just didn't want that extra expense with everything else, with the batteries and so forth. And especially because everybody I always talk to, they always lose trail cams when they put them up. So that's why before I put them up, I hand serialized my initials and some special characters and numerics on them as well.
No trackers on these.
No, because they can take them off, right? Because when you open them up or whatever, when you open them up to the inside, you can put one in there underneath the covers and so forth. But they can peel them off and throw them away.
Yep.
So, but once again, it's to me, it's very sturdy so far. I like the casing. I like the housing. I like the construction of it.
What I don't understand is how come they don't put the same technology in those cameras, being that so many get stolen or lost, as they do on the cell phones. You know, you can track the phone.
Now, I wonder if they got those
setting.
I wonder if they got those set up with the cell phones where you put the what do you call the card in it for cell phone? SIM card. I wonder if they do got those in it. Now these the ones like these, some of mine, you can program it to have a code on it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have to put a passcode, where if it does get stolen, it's useless. Nobody could use it.
Well, so you still like it back. You'd still like to know who the thief is.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
It's just like your cell phone. You know, if you contact the phone carrier, they'll shut it off and nobody will be able to use that. But you still like the phone back, or at least know, who the thief is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and if you have Wi-Fi on that camera, why isn't there the capability to track that phone through Wi-Fi?
I guess you have to be on the Wi-Fi is only for your phone to the camera, not So,
well, I mean, if you had an app, if there was an app developed that you could read your cell phone and know exactly where your phones are all the time. You know what I mean? Right. Just open it up, look at it. I mean, they're doing that with security cameras. You're checking your security cameras as it is now by app from phone. Why not those simple devices? Maybe the more expensive they get, and the next generation of these phones, maybe they'll have all sorts of devices and capabilities to them.
That's true. And there's a possibility. So, but we shall see what we shall get. So, you figure with all the cameras, the batteries, the SD cards, the cameras, there's no telling how much money's sitting out there in the woods right now. So,
well, I expect to see a beautiful postcard picture of Sasquatch that you're going to post.
Right. Yeah. So my luck, watch I get like the Ring Girl, right, out of the movie, dressed in a robe with black wet hair and walking with no feet, just gliding through the air or something. That'd be my luck, or a Wendigo or something like that.
That'd be creepy. Yeah, with the face right in the camera.
My woods are old. I mean, don't forget, I live out in the country now, so. And and I put them near where the deer run and everything else, where the deer hang out. So I should get some good deer pictures as well.
Or nature, just wildlife.
Yeah.
Whatever type of wildlife you have navigating those trails and stuff.
I would die, Brian, if I got Mothman or something. Oh, now here is the catch. Now, whatever footage I do get, the company does want to use it on their website and so forth, which I agree to. If I want to give a camera out, I want to use some of their footage too for promotional purposes. I'm down with that. But when I told them what I was doing it for, they were like, "Do what?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "No, you being for real?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Operation Stealth Camera. That's what it was for." And they're like, "Write this up." I'm like, "Are you going to change your mind?" They're like, "Just write it up and send it to us." I thought they were going to back out. They didn't. They're like, "Go ahead and pick." And I'm like, "You serious?" And like, can you imagine being in a corporate office and a conference table? And we're like, "This dude is actually out there hunting for Bigfoot." And that's why he's putting all these trail cameras out. Can you imagine that conversation they was having between themselves?
It's pretty interesting, but I remember that well-known hunter that goes all over the country, all over the world, actually, and hunting, and he gets all these promotional test products to use, providing, you know who I'm talking about?
Yes. Providing
that he mentions that product, in his videos and stuff. And he gets a lot of stuff. But, that's, hey, like we mentioned about the cars and the advertisements and stuff, it's business. It's just a business agreement. It's a business deal, and that's the way business is. That's cool.
Well, I'll give it a try, and I told them that I'll give them my honest opinion, and I'll probably do a video on it. So, you know, a separate video, just a standalone video. And Brian's like, worst case, dog man. Man, don't say that. What would I do if I do catch dog man or Bigfoot on it? Wouldn't that be something? Look at Val. I'll probably get some idiot with a stick waving back and forth. We get those a lot, right? Or what would I do if I get an eyeball? I've seen those. Have you ever seen those?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I seen one in Oakland County in Michigan. A naked man. I don't know what his issue was. Maybe a meth user. I don't know. Maybe a homeless person. I don't know. But this is out in an area where, you know, there's a lot of Bigfoot, Sasquatch reports activity.
Why would you have to say that? That's just what I want to see on one of my trail cams.
No, you know, but you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to find and stuff. But
I know what I did get putting them up. It's a bunch of chickers.
Yeah. But even if you got some videos with deer, bear, fox, coyote, wolves, cougars, you know, that's cool too.
Hey, if I get a bear, I'm making the national news because we don't have bears. So yes.
My guess is you wouldn't have bear around there too much as long as you got Sasquatch and stuff around there.
Yeah, right. So
Serious.
I was gonna do a Brian Barber trick, and I was gonna take a peanut butter, and screw it onto a tree and put like 4 trail cameras in the area. So people don't know, I got cameras on cameras on cameras. So if somebody messes with the camera, I got them somehow, one way, shape, or another. So if a camera's messed with, and I don't have it on other cameras, now somebody's going to have to scientifically explain this to me.
So I take it this is a public area that you got your cameras.
Well, yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to go out in the woods, they can, but nobody's been out in these woods, and I couldn't tell you how long because they don't go hunting out there.
And you don't have them in bark or anything, or they're not covert. They're just overt out in the open, strapped on trees.
No. They're strap on trees. Let me tell you how. So these are camouflage ones, right? And I tell you, I had somebody went with me, and if it wasn't for that GPS one, that handheld GPS, I put 3 in probably a 40 square yard area. Okay, in different directions, facing different directions. I turned around to see what tree I put them on, or trees that I put them on. I couldn't even see them.
Really?
I'm like, you got to be joking. And she was like, well, what trees you put them on? I'm like, I don't know, but I got the picture of the GPSs, so I'm good.
And you were able to locate it anyway, right? With the GPS.
I've got the GPS coordinates, all pictures. I would show I would show you, but not on the air, of the GPS coordinates, because I don't want anybody to be like, oh, because on one show I showed an area where I found Bigfoot tracks in the park. I showed an aerial view of the map next to the reformatory, and that tells you where I live if you know anything about Kentucky. But I just try to keep my location on the down low because I don't want everybody to be out there be like, oh, let's go play some tricks on Grizzly, you know. So, because I got blamed this year last year, that one of my fellow officers that retired and moved to Bardstown, Kentucky, I got blamed that I was streaking in his backyard, the paper sack on my face, naked in his backyard on his security cameras.
Well, that would be a sight, huh?
Well, I can't run. I was injured. Remember, I got back injuries, and he swears up and down it was me. I'm like, how do you know it was me? He said, because you told me years ago if I ever put up cameras, you would do it. And he was like, my wife had a fit, and he's like, I know it was Grizzly. I'm like, no, it was not me. So we had a long talk over that, and I finally convinced him. And I'm like, dude, I'm hurt. I can't run. So I guess it was whoever owned that house before was trying to play a joke. on the old neighbor that didn't know that they moved or something. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't do that to somebody. I mean, come on, really? A paper sack?
Not cool.
No.
Not cool.
But he called me up, man, and I didn't know what was going on, because the only thing I mean, if it was one of these commercials, like if he was on the air, the only thing you had heard was beep, 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 you beep, beep, beep. Then I was like, what in the world's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Thanks, Susie B. I appreciate that. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be cool at all.
No. But hopefully he's watching the show, because I know he's probably laughing right now. So
is he a member of your group?
Oh, he probably is.
Lurking in the sidelines there.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, when we both, watch each other's TikToks and stuff, and so forth. So, but I'm like, dude, I'm like, you think I'm gonna go to a retired cop's house, right, and have a chance of being shot and doing that? I'm like, no, you're crazy. I'm like, I used to do some crazy stuff when I was younger, but I ain't gonna lie, So, yeah, I mean, when you would say Grizzly wouldn't do that, but like, the hell I wouldn't. Yeah. So you know what type of person that is. So
I'm blushing.
Yes, you are. I can tell.
I'm blushing.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. But about a week or so, we'll check the cameras, and I'll get this other camera up. Check out that cam Park company. It's Cam Park company.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, so far, I don't see anything cheesy made about it, but the test will tell me, because the weather is coming. So we'll test the components of it.
So when you go out there to check these cameras, how long have you had them out there before this?
Oh man, it's been probably a little over 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
But you haven't had the new one out there this long yet.
No, the new one I just got in. The new one I got in, I got it charged. I read some of the instructions on it. I've been looking at the construction of it, comparing it to my other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on for a second. Stand by. Hold on. I'll show you. Stand by. All right. Hold on. All right, here. All right, let me get situated again. All right, let me get my headphones on, and we'll wrap up here. Let me turn my camera back on here. Get this comment off.
Whatever you get on the on your cams out there, we should make a show of it.
So here's another camera that I use a lot of.
I like that.
But see the different quality on the build?
Mm-hmm.
See the LEDs on them? See how they're shown, and the other one's blacked out?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is a Woosdo. It's a pretty good camera. You can get these for around probably about $70. But see the different internals?
Mm-hmm.
See how a little bit cheaper that is?
It's got a light cell there.
Yes.
It's got a sturdy lens on the front.
But if you look though too, the batteries, you hit a button and the batteries go in at the bottom.
Double D's, triple D's,
double A's.
My goodness, how many batteries does that hold?
8. Each camera was 8 batteries.
Oh my!
But what I'm saying is, if you look at the construction of it, the other one, the cam part is made better than this one, and it's got, the other one had better electronics in the center. Remember, you can program it. This one, you just turn it on and you do everything manually, and there's the LCD screen right there. And the other LCD screen was a good size section. So there's one brand, and here's another brand that I use.
And do you have a lot of those particular types?
Oh yeah. I've got a whole bunch of different ones. Here's another brand that I use.
Totally different.
Yes, I use different technology ones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I open this one up, everything's from the bottom, and you can see down at the bottom.
Here's your screen.
Yeah, and this one you got presets that you down. If you slide this one all the way down to the bottom, these where you can do your video and motion, or these are single pictures, double pictures, triple pictures are automatically set. This is how you program it, your time and date. But you see the different quality.
Oh yeah,
of the brand. And like I said, different housing.
And how many
has one lever?
How many?
They all run 8. And these batteries go in at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So, and when I say I hand serialize the numbers, you can see on the back if I hold it at a right light.
Oh yeah,
see?
I see it.
So this way, and I take pictures of it, and I got them underneath the attachment too, serialized too. So I take a picture of the back of the camera. I take a picture of the front of the camera. Then I take my GPS next to the tree to get the most accurate reading. Because if you do it out here, it's going to be it's going to be off like a foot because it goes by foot, on GPSs. A foot ain't gonna make a difference, but I always put it next to the tree. Then this way, if this ends up missing, I can report to the police. Here's what the camera looks like, and this is what the serial number is on the back of it.
Grizz, do they ever have number bars on those cameras?
Yeah, they do, but they're stickers. You can peel those off.
Nothing that you can scan and hold in an app.
No. So, and I've got probably 6 more different brands of trail cameras right behind me in my studio basket.
Of all those trail cams that you have, which have you found more compatible to you as a user?
I like the ones that you can program the password in. They all take very good pictures. Now I've got some ones that they're about this big and about that wide. They're black, and the only thing they do is take pictures. And they are a picture monster taking machine, and you can leave them up there for 9 months. And people don't believe that the trail cams, the pictures, they don't take up much space on the SD cards. It's the videos that do, because you program how the video quality you want to take on the trail cams, the actual quality. So, but each of the trail cams that I have, one with the white lights, right, or IR. So that's going to look like through our IR night vision goggles, like a strobe light or a big spotlight in the woods when it takes a picture. Then you got your infrared, and those are the ones with the black screen where you can't see it. Then you got the ones that just picks up motions. Now, some of these go all the way out to 90 feet.
That's quite a distance.
Yes. So when I put these up, I had to be careful about branches because, with the wind and leaves on them, we'll pick up motion, we'll take pictures and video. So I don't know, I don't know when I'm going to get, I may get a lot of dud pictures because of branches and stuff, because, you try to be careful, but because when you put a camera up, it's not like you can look through a peephole and see what the camera's looking at. Right. So, but yeah.
Well, I'll be interested to see what you get.
And it's going to be interesting. Different yeah, be real interesting. So I'm real excited. So probably put a few more up. Hopefully none are missing. Rip off a tree or whatnot. But
so when you go out, are you going to actually count the cameras that you still have out there? Yeah,
because I got each coordinates and each camera picture and everything taken. Yes.
Wow, that's a big area.
Oh yeah,
that is a big area.
So I don't know if I'm gonna. Then that's the thing is, am I gonna take extra batteries out? Because some of them I got rechargeable batteries in them.
Mhm.
So am I just gonna take some of the ones down with me, or leave some of them up? I don't know yet. So
Mhm. Well, I wish you luck. I hope you
Well,
get some good pictures. that we
we'll
can
see what we come up with. So yeah,
so we can critique them when you bring them in.
yeah, absolutely, that'd be fun.
That'd be very cool.
Yes,
Is it raining over there now?
it
Chris?
was a few minutes ago. Yes,
Yeah, it was raining here. We got some rain, lots of rain here. So
yes.
anyways, yeah, it's been a good show. It's been a very, very good show. And as always, we're working to make it more interesting. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, good. Well, from coast to coast and around the world, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next show.
Thank you, Grizz. Good night.
Good night. Take care, everybody.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.